see if I have him here. There he is. Hey, Ryan.
Hello.
It's not Ryan Reynolds. It's not the star of Green Lantern and Deadpool, but we have Ryan Hendrickson all the way from Iowa via Canada. Is that right?
Yes, we're just outside of Toronto and Hamilton, Ontario, on a little family vacation up in the Northeast.
Now, Steve, I'm not familiar with Toronto, but I've heard it's near Montreal and New York City. Is that right?
It is get-toable from New York. We've done it as a summer vacation ourselves as a family, so have a great time up there. But it's a good, 9-10 hours for us.
Yeah.
Ryan, just for you, I did wear
Board Boys, yep.
my Board Boys T-shirt, and
Yes.
that's kind of how we met. But Ryan, for the people that haven't met you or haven't talked to you before, give us the elevator pitch. You know what that is. You're a board game designer. Who is Ryan Hendrickson?
Well, my full-time job is a farmer. I grow corn and soybeans in central Iowa. Live on a family farm that we've had for about 130 years or so. But in my free time, in the winter, I don't have a whole lot to do on the farm. So I kind of got into designing board games. I've been playing for years, and I just sort of had the premonition one time to maybe I could do this myself. So I started working on one, worked on it for a few months, took it to Protospiel and got some good feedback on that. Nothing ever came of that one, but it sort of got the juices flowing design-wise. And then a couple of years ago, well, when was it? I don't know when it was. It was maybe 2021, I think, is when I decided I might try adapting a game that I know and love into a roll and write. And so that was Joan of Arc. It was a roll and write version of Orleans.
You're a big fan of Orleans?
Yeah, it's one of my favorites. So I just thought, man, actually, I'll give a little bit of credit to it was
Stockhausen?
No, well, it was the Rajas of the Ganges, the Dice Charmers. So that was an adaptation.
Steve, our first mention of my favorite roll and write game of all time.
Yeah, it's one of my favorites even to this day. So I was playing that one, and it's an adaptation of another game that I also liked, the full version of Rajas. And I said to myself, well, maybe I can do this with one of my favorite games. So that's when I got started on that one. So I worked on that for a while, sent it over to Rainer Stockhausen. He played it, thought it had some potential. So he and I worked on it together for a little bit, and then we published it. So that sort of led to another one of Grand Austria Hotel. So I worked on that for a while.
We're big fans of Grand Austria Hotel here. Although, to be fair, we kind of like playing it online more than we do like playing in person because of the length and the fiddliness a little bit. You know what I'm talking about, I think.
I know what you're talking about. So I worked on an adaptation of that one that I sent over to Mr. Luciani, and he liked it enough to say, let's pursue this. So we went ahead with that, and it was that one came out last year at Essen.
I know what Steve's thinking right now. Steve's thinking Simone Luciani, Orleans, Grand Austria Hotel, Rogers the Ganges. Now we know why BJ invited Brian to talk to him on the show. This is like a list of all of my favorite games here that you're talking about. Favorite designers. He's literally just checking
them off.
I love Simone Luciani, but why is I'm one of the few people that I'm not that big a fan of Rogers the Ganges, yet I love Dice Charmers. I think it's a better version of the game. And I know I'm in the small minority probably on that, but what do you think? If you were trying to describe the differences and the similarities in the two games, or are you trying to sell people in those games? Steve, you've played both, right?
I have played Charmers. I have not played full Rajas.
Okay.
Ryan,
should he play full Rajas, or is he getting what he needs, as I say, with Dice Charmers?
I think there's certainly merit to having played both. There's a little bit more in the full version, as you could expect. There's as far as the tile laying, the map on the Dice Charmers, you're just marking here and there. But in the full version, you've actually got the tiles that you're placing, and you can rotate them to connect roads to certain bonuses and stuff. And that's something that you don't quite get in the roll and write version. So I would say, at least for that, there's a little bit to it. And Rajas also has some expansions that add a few more things, but I don't play that nearly as much as I'd like, but it's one of my favorites.
I'm checking something out because Steve, are you seeing that we're streaming on Facebook?
I had posted in our group for people to check, but I'm not looking at the Facebook version of things.
So YouTube is working.
Let me take a peek now.
Yeah, you do that if you don't mind, because I checked
sure.
YouTube and YouTube is working fine. But I'm not seeing any notices from Facebook, so I'm just trying to check it. Although my dashboard says it's working fine. So, yeah, Dice Charmers, you do miss out on the tile laying, but I think you still get the sense of that because of the way that you're moving all the connections through. It's not tiling itself, but it gives you the sense that you're doing that, don't you think?
A little bit, yeah.
And what I like more about it is that I guess I'm always attracted to games, especially roll and write games that have these, as Cam calls them, the combo wombo things, right?
Yep,
you hear
exactly.
TK and Cam and Rob talk about that all the time. And Dice Charmers has combos up the wazoo. It's why I like those loaded roll and writes from the Fleet Pools. If you've played French Quarter or Fleet the Dice game or Three Sisters, the best things about those games are the ability to feel really clever when you put together 8 or 10 or 12 actions in a row.
Yep, I've played it with my wife, and one time she says, "Are you sure you're done? Because you've been going on for several minutes. New actions here and there. You must be cheating or something."
Yeah, Cam was sharing a video. I don't know if you saw that today, but he was sharing a video of this YouTube streamer who's reenacting a part in one of the games that's like that, and his spouse or his girlfriend kept going, "Are you finished?" And he was like, "Oh, I haven't." Oh, he's playing Empires of the North, and he's like, "I have another apple, so I'm going to tap this card." Oh, yeah, I'm finished. Oh no, wait, and I've got, and he just kept going on, and the video lasts like 20 minutes of him just going through this mega turn in Empires of the North, and that's what I think. That's why I like Rajas and all these other Convolutious games. Now, I haven't played Joan of Arc or High Season, I think it's called.
Yeah, High Season.
Are those combo-y type games or more just straight Euro, resource in a dice game?
There are some combos in there, so I would say you can't do well unless you're able to string some long turns together. But I wouldn't say there's never enough to lose track of. Like sometimes you do this and it leads to this, which leads to two other things, which leads to one or two other things itself, and you kind of lose track of where you are. I would say that, especially Joan of Arc, you might string 2 or 3 things together, but that's about it.
Steve, in the Fleet Pools games, the loaded roll and writes, there's a section in the corner of the notepad, and it's blank, and it's specifically to remind you if you have a couple more actions. You're supposed to take notes there, and I have had to.
You have to with Three Sisters. I know that. I've lost myself in that game a couple of times.
If not, you're going to miss an action or two.
Yep.
In Joan of Arc, we have it on the sheet where you're supposed to circle when you earn a bonus, and then during your turn you can execute them in any order and cross them off as you execute them. So that if you look around your sheet and you see anything circled, I can still do this on this turn. So,
Steve, I'm curious. Have you played High Season yet?
No, I have not.
Oh, okay.
It is on BGA.
Really?
Yeah, within the last few weeks. It was in beta for a while, and I think it might have its full release already. I'm not sure. I'm in a game with a couple of the board boys, Tim and Jake.
Oh yeah, Tim and Jake. TK. What's the playtime on both of the games? About the same?
Yeah. If you know the games and it's in front of you, you can play a 2-player game in 20-30 minutes at the very most.
All right.
Yep.
Very good.
All right, putting it on the list for BGG Con. I'm going to try both of those games out there, Ryan, because I think Rob's supposed to be there at BGG Con. So hopefully, are you a convention person? Do you get to go to conventions?
Not often. No, they're usually when I'm busy with work. So that's a no-go for me most of the time. So.
Summertime for farmers. That's the time when you're having to work.
Yep.
Yeah.
About the only time is right now, and this is when we have to take our family vacation because we don't have any other opportunities. So, yeah.
I don't know if Steve knows this. I come from a family of farmers, so my grandparents were the last of them. Well, actually, my uncle was the last one, but my dad got away from the farm. He went to law school, and we never went back. But I mean, as far back as we knew, about 100, 150 years of farming over there. So we were soybeans and rice and cotton back in the day. But I am curious. So we've seen games with all these different crops, but I haven't seen a soybean game.
Soybeans?
At least in Louisiana, we call them poverty peas. Is that why? Is it because soybeans are so tough to make money on?
I guess they're not very interesting.
I think it is. One of my favorite games is sitting right behind me. It's called Fields of Green. I don't know if you've ever played that one.
Nope, never played that one.
Steve, you've played Fields of Green, right? No?
I have not played Fields of Green, no.
Okay, well, both of you guys need to check that out if you like any kind of crops, because it's all about, God, this theme is going to sound so dry, but it's all about putting together fields of crops and irrigating them and producing more crops than everybody else.
Right.
And yet it sounds so dry when I describe it, but it's really a lot of fun. I mean, it's
Do you have to feed your farmers or they die?
Oh, you have to, it's been a long time since I played, but you have to make sure you have enough water each round or you can lose some of your crops. So, and making sure you have you're either irrigating them by putting out pipes or you're putting wells out. So, God, that theme sounds so dry, but I promise you, it's actually a lot of fun. What'd you find out, Steve? Anything?
It looks like things are running. I did post in the private chat that there's a link up on Facebook. I can see that it's clickable for video. I just don't know that there was any announcement well in advance of this. So this may be something that people see after the fact rather than interacting with live.
Yeah, just making sure. Sometimes it happens where you get that server burp with Facebook, but YouTube's working just fine.
Yep. Cool.
All right, so that's High Season and Joan of Arc. What attracts you to making these roll and writes?
Well, honestly, it wasn't so much that I love playing roll and writes, or I just thought that it was a design space that I thought that I could work in to get a start. Just say, hey, what do you think of this game? Send it to a publisher, and I had pretty good luck on my first couple. So that's sort of what I went with.
And let me get this right. So were you part of so many of the designers that I meet are part of a design group, and that's how they got it started. You got this started kind of just on your own?
In my basement. I just, in my free time, I don't watch a lot of television. So sometimes I just go down into the basement and work at a table, and at first I have a whiteboard and I just kind of scribble on it, and I say, what would it look like if Orleans was a roll and write? And I kind of have this section here and this section here, and it started out with dice, but it turned out pretty quickly that wasn't going to work. And since Orleans is a bag builder anyway, I thought, well, why don't you have the random choice pulling out of a bag instead of rolling dice? And it just made a lot of sense to do that, and it sort of snowballed from there.
So it's still, as our friend Jake and Danielle from Draft Mechanic used to say, it's a randowriter, but instead of dice, it's bags.
Yep.
Interesting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Curious question for you then, Ryan. As you were doing this, you said with Orleans was the one that you thought you wanted to see if you could adapt.
Yes, that's the first one that I designed that I then pitched to a publisher that liked it. It wasn't
where I was going to ask.
That I ever designed, yeah.
So you said you ended up talking with and working with Stockhausen, and then maybe later Luciani on the others, but it was reaching out to the publisher first. How was that cold calling a publisher? What was your process for thinking that? When you get to the point where you think, I've got something, I'm going to reach out directly to a publisher because I think this has got something. This has got potential.
Well, to be honest, I had no idea if it had potential or not. I just thought, I've done as much as I can do with this to make it playable. And, I like to work out the math in things. I'm no Knizia or anything like that, but there's the picture there.
There it is.
but I think a good sense of, economies. Like, is this too much of one thing? Is this not enough? How do we make this flow a little better? Do I insert a little bit more money into this economy or take a little out? That kind of thing. So I thought that I had a playable, balanced game that I thought at the very least they would say, yeah, this has potential. It may not be polished, but they could see it being a final product at some point.
How close did it look to what we're seeing on the screen?
Surprisingly close.
Really? Okay.
So,
are you an artist or a graphic designer by hobby or trade?
I shouldn't say no. What I did
functionally, you mean it looked the same?
Functionally, yes. Yeah. Sorry, I didn't do much of the graphic design. In fact, in order to make my prototype, I scanned images of the game. I scanned my board of the game that I own, and I made little icons with Photoshop or whatever free version I have on my computer. And but functionally, like, the map is essentially the same. The look of the bank and which bank is the thing right in the middle. The warehouse, which is where the goods are there.
Yeah, I can see that.
All of that is basically what my prototype was. The
map looks very close.
Yes, exactly. And so the main thing that we did in development was add and change some of the buildings, which are in the lower left there on the sheet or on the cards.
Okay.
And so Reiner had a few pretty good ideas that made more cards and more variety on top of the prototype that I sent him. And then
you're still using the little tiles that we've seen in the that we used to pull out of the bag.
Yep, exactly. But those are about 3 times as big. They're about the size of a $50. They're pretty big.
Okay.
Yep, they fit in the bag. Yeah, but I was surprised how close the final product was to the prototype, because I've listened to podcasts about design for years, and I hear these stories about, this game's been in development for 3 or 4 years. I'm like, well, does it really take that much? I mean, because we probably only developed for a couple of months and tried it as many times as we could play, but tweaking things here and there, but it didn't change a lot. Just
following up on that though, Stegmeyer used to always say, if you're going to get into design, start with just a little card game. Mm-hmm. They're easy to iterate, they're easy to produce. You sort of did that in a way, right, Steve? He started with a roll and write, which has a lot less components than you have to deal with in one of these big productions.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Is that a secret, do you think? Or maybe for designers trying to start out, maybe, as they always say, if you're going to eat an elephant, do it one bite at a time, and you started with the smallest bite.
Yeah, and it certainly helped that there was a fully developed base game that I could draw ideas from. So when I was designing Joan of Arc, I went through each system in Orleans and said, how could this be on a sheet of paper? This map could easily be drawn on. You draw some roadways and some waterways. The little houses that you place in Orleans could just be little houses on the map that you fill in when you build there. So, and I went through each system and said, how can this be on a piece of paper and only on a piece of paper? And I sort of just went through the whole thing, and then there it was, and tweaked it as I went.
You got something, Steve? I'm definitely curious.
That was what I was most interested in. It was how did it get to that transition part? Who did you say reach out through their normal website channels? Did you put it out?
Like the actual,
did you put it out on BGG for people to give some feedback on, or did you go straight to the horse's mouth?
No, I went straight to him. I got his email off the DLP website. I wrote and said, I've got a prototype. Are you interested in taking a look?
Very cool.
I sent it over. He played it. He got back to me and said, "Let's do this." And that
helps if the designer who already has the relationship with the publisher, Ryan was like, I'm just going to cut out the middleman. I'm going to go right to the designer. You know?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.